Okay. Wait, no, that wasn't good. What is an emergency? Take 50. What is an emergency fund?
An emergency fund is...
One question for you. What's an emergency fund?
An emergency fund is, well, there's several things that an emergency fund is, but it's money you set aside literally for life's emergencies. So it's not something that's going to be put in investment. It's just going to be cash that you can get available. Not cash, you can have a checking account, but it's cash set aside literally for emergencies.
But like, what happens if I have like a month or 2 months or even like 6 months and my emergency fund is like $5,000 and I really want a new car? What can I do?
Well, first of all, really wanting a new car, that's not really an emergency. Maybe like something happens to your car and you need to get a new car or a used car. If you can't afford it, it's not want, it's you're going to need. If your car is literally not working, then yes, emergency fund is going to be necessary.
So I can just use part of my emergency fund to pay for a new car if I need a new car.
Essentially, yes. Now, I think you asked, how do you know how much you need? Did you ask that?
No, I don't think so. But you can tell me.
Okay. Well, really, what it comes down to is it comes down to how much money you make, how much you depend on. So we like to say at Gym Class Finance and other places as well, we like to say 3 to 6 months.
Okay, so 3 to 6 months, that's fine for when I was a teacher. But what happens if I have like a sales job where my money like fluctuates? I can make anywhere from, let's say, I don't really have this, but like $1,000 one month and then $500 another month and then $10,000 another month. What do you say with that?
So even if your income is fluctuating, you're still going to need to make sure you're staying on a budget. So you're going to need to look at your monthly expenses. And if you know that your rent is $1,500 and you know that going out to eat and keeping your electricity on, your phone bill and all those things amounts to, let's say, $3,500 a month, then you're going to want to take that times 3 or 6 to determine how much you're going to make. Because if you do have a bad month, which I know that can happen in those types of jobs, you still need to plan for it and be prepared for anything that could happen.
So it's kind of like a guess about like how much you're going to make or how much you spend and make. That should be in your emergency. It's not necessarily just your income.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can only use an emergency fund for true emergencies, like if my air conditioning breaks or something, I get a flat tire, I need new tires. So it's only for big things like that. But shouldn't I already have another spot in my budget for problems like that?
So can you explain that again?
So shouldn't I already have a portion of my budget that goes to fixing things like a flat tire? Like, should that really make me go into my emergency fund?
That's a good question. So yes, I normally keep money in our budget in a car. We have a car fund. So whenever I know every year I need to get my car maintenanced, I need to go and get it inspected. So I have that amount, and usually a little bit more because obviously anything can happen. But an emergency is going to be when there's $1,000 car issue that I'm not expecting, because I'm not going to have $1,000 extra in my fund that was set just for minor details related to my car. So that's why I want that 3 to 6. That's going to cover those $1,000, maybe $500, $200. You might not have that fund fully funded until you face an emergency. Then you're going to have the emergency fund that you can just go to that can be used for any of those things.
Okay. That sounds good. So if anybody's actually listening to us ramble on, this was not staged. It wasn't scripted either. But I think the main thing that we need to take away from this is that an emergency fund, and you can correct me, just to make sure I understand everything you said. An emergency fund is for emergencies only. So like if I'm trying to get my air conditioning maintenance, I'm not pulling from my emergency fund, right?
Correct.
But if my air conditioning all of a sudden breaks and it's like 90 degrees, that's an actual emergency, right?
Correct.
Okay, So like my oil change in my car, that's not an emergency.
No.
It's annoying and inconvenient, but not an emergency.
Something you budget for. Yes.
Okay, so you budget for all of life's expenses,
Mm-hmm.
and when something comes up that you're like not expecting, that's the emergency fund.
Exactly. Remember, 3 to 6 months and of your expenses. So that's why I like to talk about budgets and making sure that you know how much you spend. So 3 to 6 months is what you should have. I know it's not a good investment. It's, especially with inflation, your time is money, and I know that things are happening. I think money's going this way right now, but it's just nice. It's security, and it's something that just makes me a little more comfortable, helps me to sleep at night a little better.
Okay, and investments. That's a whole nother video. See ya.
See you then. Was that good?
Mm-hmm.
Was that good? We'll see.
Okay, take 102.
Million.
Okay, Sean, you're always talking about investments. Sean, what should I have in my emergency fund?
Emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of expenses that you have saved in an account that's easily accessible. Cash, probably not in a checking account. Somewhere you can get it easily. Savings account's fine. You can easily transfer it to where you can easily grab it.
Because you're doing a good job. Okay, peace.